discussion over recently in the city of Hoboken. There have been $3 million awarded to our city by the county for park acquisition in the northwest portion of Hoboken. Now the situation's changed on that piece of property, whereas a major conglomerate international company, BASF, has bought that property, and their intentions of what to do with it, it's a rather dirty site. They make a policy of cleaning their own sites. So it really brought that site as a place for park acquisition within the city of Hoboken. It went from the low-lying fruit to certainly a goal we still have, but one that's much further out on the timeline. And for that reason, we did want to ask for the reappropriation of the $3 million in funding. Now, I know it's been expressed to me that there are people here on the board of chosen freeholders who have expressed a desire to have very shovel-ready projects for this funding, but in the city of Hoboken, we have a severe shortage of open space, and I think it's very important that once we've acquired funding for acquisition, that we not dilute it and make it for rehabilitation of presently existing open spaces, that we keep that for acquisition. And that's why we put in our application for the switching of the funding that it be to the southwest of Hoboken. Now, I've been a city councilor for about 2 years, but I've had the privilege of being involved in a fight for a southwest park in Hoboken for about 5.5 years. It's a very important area. It's an important area to not only Hoboken, but the county in general. There's a lot of bordering properties in Jersey City that have been made either redevelopment zones or have had their zoning changed that would inevitably end up using a park in that area of town as well. And it's a long overdue fight that a lot of people put a lot of skin in the game on this fight, and it's important for us to have as many resources as possible to acquire land in that city, in that part of the city. Now we have recently passed some resolutions that kind of basically demonstrate our resolve to acquiring land. In the application, I know we've indicated to you the exact block that we are focusing our efforts upon, and I just want to urge the board to clear that, transfer the funding, and to not be concerned about the fact that it's not a shovel ready, because it is just so very important. There is in that area of our city, there is only a pocket park at the present time, and we need park space for the whole city, but particularly for that area of the city. There have been many proponents who I know have come up here in front of this board and talked about the dream of a 6-acre park in the area. I've always been of the belief that we need to do this in a piecemeal approach, that we need to get the ball rolling on it and make acquisitions of maybe 1 acre at a time and trying to achieve that goal. This funding will get us a long way toward achieving that goal. And it's not only for the need for open space, which would be both active and passive, but it's also because it would be the intent of the city council and of the administration of Hoboken to have flood remediation measures engineered into any open space in that area of town. Now, a little less than 48 hours ago, we had a quick and pretty tremendous rainstorm that created flooding throughout the city of Hoboken. My own family was caught up in it. I was talking to neighbors who live in the southwest part of Hoboken. I live in a building that's really at the epicenter of the flooding. And I would like to submit to the board to just look at some pictures, because these are pictures that contain the area that we would be looking to acquire within it, and you can see where the flood waters are rising. So if I could do that, please.
Absolutely. To give it to the young lady.
First, second. Then I would ask you to draw your attention to this third picture, which is when the flooding was getting pretty heavy. You can see the waves that are actually projecting onto that area. So the reason I brought in these photos is to just emphasize that although I consider public open space, both active and passive, on its own to be a very noble public benefit, that this area, if we were to acquire it, would not only be for the purpose of open space, but we could also engineer some solutions with holding tanks or whatever the latest technology has to offer that would help remediate the severe flooding problem that we have in the city of Hoboken, particularly in the southwest, where it is probably at its worst. So I would I would urge you to vote positively on this, to vote in the affirmative, to have the funds transferred over, to allow us to try to close our gap of open space in the city of Hoboken. People in Hoboken, my constituents, They look at parks like Lincoln Park, I guess it's about 160 acres. They look at other parks, they look at parks up the hill on the Union City, Jersey City Heights border, and they say, where's Hoboken in this equation? They look at their tax bills, they see the amount of money that's going towards the county taxes, and they're getting frustrated. And although we are a mile square community and it's certainly difficult to acquire open space, we do have areas where we can do it. The Southwest, in my mind, is one of the best, and I would hope that we do that.
Thank you, Councilor. Just for the record, I raised the issue the other day. The issue wasn't raised on this resolution. The issue was raised going forward, that I want to reassess the policy. And when I mean shovel ready, if you have a piece of property identified that you have appraisals on,
Yes.
then that's shovel ready for the purposes of getting dollars for acquisition.
Great.
So what I'm looking at is looking forward. It's frustrating to me to see over $11 million, which is not just the project in Hoboken, that have been sitting there in some cases 6 years, 5 years, where none of the money was spent. So my thought doesn't relate to this particular resolution. I supported putting it on the agenda at pre-caucus. I'm supporting it today, but I just want the department to look at how other counties handle it, in a sense that if there are projects that are ready to go, if it was Hoboken or someone that walked in tomorrow and said, hey, we got an appraisal on this site, you can acquire it, we need X amount of dollars, that we can create a process that if we've got to take dollars today from one, because we can do that today, and then replenish or give a forward commitment to that other project when that project's ready to actually go forward. So I'm supporting the resolution, but going forward, I want the dollars to get spent as quickly as possible. And if Hoboken's got other projects and other sites, and they identify and get the appraisals and the values, that's what we should be doing.
Well, I thank you for making that distinction. I think this project would fall within that sort of categorization that you made. We were dealing with a site that we had engaged the Trust for Public Land in doing negotiations to acquire the original site. Because BASF had purchased the property, that's really what changed the landscape. The Southwest has had appraisals done for about 2.5 years. We're actually looking to redo the appraisals in that area, but we do have, still fairly ripe appraisals in the area. And I talked to the mayor extensively about this issue. Her and I actually got to know each other being involved in this fight before either of us were holding public office. And we agreed to put the application toward one block specifically that has a use, which is the predominant use on that block, which is actually in our master plan that was recently re-examined. Both when it first came out and when it was re-examined, is a use that we have said shouldn't even be in the city of Hoboken, which is a surface parking lot. So I think it would fall within those confines that you're stating.
Okay, thank you, Councilor.
If I could bring up one other thing, I thank you for putting that resolution about the post offices on your agenda. I would like in August, and Freeholder Mello, if you were behind that, I thank you very much for that. In the month of August, when we have our council meeting, I would very much like to have a similar resolution come from the city of Hoboken. We recently reached 50,000 people in population. Have only one post office would be absurd.
Thank you, Councilor. Freeholder Mello.
Yes, the dream of many of the young residents, parents, and elected officials of Hoboken. And use as an example the huge complex of both the Sky Club and our sister city, Jersey City, on the border, the Cliffs. So they're going to use this new field. I proudly support in anything that we can get done. And hopefully not only the park is used at active, I'd like to see hopefully the ball field. So we don't have to go to Weehawken and try to get into O'Day. I'm at Lincoln Park in Jersey City to play ball, but it is a dream, and hopefully it's going to finally come to fruition, and that everyone will be united on it, and we will be there as a board to support that cause.
Thank you for being partners in this effort.